Can feel it. I can feel it. Our clerk this morning is Lane Blomquist, and our host is Michaela Zamora, who will handle requests for public comment and public testimony sign up in the chat for those of you who are joining us virtually this morning. There are several ways to join our hybrid meeting, all of which are listed on our website at jeffco.us. You are always welcome to reach out to the board on the county's website at jeffco.us or email us at commish@jeffco.us. We would also like to remind everyone to please go ahead and silence your phones and apparently your laptops this morning. And next, join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll go to our proclamation. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning, both in person and online. 2025 marks the 150th anniversary of the Evergreen community, a significant milestone that honors the individuals and organizations that help make Evergreen an exceptional place to live, work, and recreate. To highlight Evergreen's 150th anniversary, the Evergreen Area Chamber of Commerce is leading a year-long celebration, including monthly Sacred Spaces events, exploring treasured historical sites, and a major July 3rd event, all very excited about that, at Buchanan Park, featuring historical organizations, speakers, classic cars, vintage games, and a hot air balloon glow. You'll have to tell us a little bit about that. Very exciting. As commissioners, we're proud to have such a beautiful, vibrant mountain community within our county, and we look forward to celebrating with all the residents, businesses, and nonprofits in Evergreen. We're so excited to have leaders from the Evergreen community with us this morning. Now, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Zenzinger. And I just want to make a quick note to acknowledge Commissioner Kerr, who brought up the idea of a proclamation celebrating the 150th anniversary as well. We love Evergreen. We're up there often. And again, we're so excited you're with us. With that, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Zenzinger.
So this is truly a fun anniversary to celebrate this morning. Evergreen's rich history includes early settlers like the Humphreys, who established Kinnick Ranch. Try to practice that one, but notable figures like Josepha Douglas and one of Colorado's first women doctors, and historic sites like the High One Homestead Museum. Evergreen is an outdoor and cultural hub. The area's identity is rooted in its stunning Rocky Mountain setting, with landmarks such as the Evergreen Lake and Alderfer Three Sisters Park. In honor of the 150th anniversary, I encourage everyone to visit Evergreen to participate in events. And a great way to get involved is by visiting evergreenchamber.org to view an events calendar, and there will be many, many ways to celebrate. Before I turn things over to Commissioner Kerr to read the recognition, I would like to invite the Evergreen Area Chamber of Commerce President Nancy Judge to say a few words.
Well, first off, thank you very much, commissioners, for helping us celebrate this phenomenally fun time in Evergreen's history. I have been so blessed to have brought together a group of truly historic people that know so much more about Evergreen's past and history. And we have had so much fun learning together, as well as putting on these Sacred Spaces events each and every month. And those will continue into the fall. We've got a great committee of people that have been helping pull all of this together. And it's just allowed us to really shine the light on the variety in Evergreen, the length in Evergreen, and the breadth of Evergreen. And so we are honored to be a part of this and appreciate you helping us celebrate this. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Nancy. It is very special to be doing this morning, and just wanted to point out. Let me get through this before anyone starts judging. But last week I went to the Conifer Area Chamber. Remember, we're going to let me get through this before we start judging, and ended. Well, part of my Saturday was spent at Genesee, and I'll talk more about that later. But in between there, I was in Evergreen, and yes, I know the difference between Conifer and Evergreen and Genesee, but these are all our mountain communities, and Evergreen does hold a special place in our heart. Our mountain communities are, while the population is a little bit lower than down here in the flatlands, Evergreen punches way above its weight as far as our chambers of commerce go, and our influence. If you just look at our flag and our seal, Jefferson County would not be what it is without our mountain communities. So just wanted to point out that we're often up in our mountain communities centered around Evergreen. And yes, we do know the difference between Evergreen and Conifer. So now the recognition. 150 years ago, Dwight Wilmot petitioned the U.S. Postal Service to establish a post office in the foothills west of Denver with the name Evergreen. This was the first time the name Evergreen had been used to represent the collective area. Evergreen has a storied history going back to the indigenous Ute, Cheyenne, and Arapaho people who traveled, traded, and hunted in the area for centuries. From a tiny ranching and logging village reached only by rough wagon roads to the vibrant residential mountain community today off I-70, Evergreen is a magical place that balances the beauty of the natural surrounding, outdoor recreational opportunities, and a small community feel, only 30 minutes from Denver. An unincorporated community in southwest Jefferson County, Evergreen has changed and grown with the invention of automobiles and the development of I-70, and there's an appreciation of the arts and enjoying a slower lifestyle up the hill. It has quotation marks, actually, it does. Up the hill from the city. Evergreen prides itself on being the home of more than 70 active nonprofit organizations, which address many of the services that a city government would. The attitude of taking care of ourselves and our neighbors is still predominant in the community. Today, the Jefferson County Board of Commissioners recognizes the wonderful community of Evergreen, while honoring the past and looking to the future with excitement and enthusiasm for what the next 150 years will bring. And our recognition. So come on up here.
And please join us. We'd love to invite the Evergreen community leaders to join us. And I just want to give a special shout out to Megan Mitchell, who, by the way, was an award winner of our Sustainability Award 2 years ago.
Right. Can I get one person over here next to Commissioner Dahlkemper? Thank you. One, two, three. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Great. Thank you. We're much smoother than this morning. Foggy out there. That's foggy out there. Thanks, did you want to say anything?
We're good. I'm sure they're good.
Okay, okay, perfect. You're right.
Perfect, perfect.
Thanks for being here. Again, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate you very much. We'll talk a little bit more during our remarks about the Evergreen Parade and Rodeo that was this weekend, and great event as well. Next on our agenda is public comment, and the board will take up to 15 minutes at the beginning of our meeting, and if needed, additional public comment toward the end of our meeting. And a reminder that public comment is only for items that are not on our agenda. We'll begin with those who have signed up for public comment, followed by those who have not had an opportunity. And if you're joining us virtually, please log in using a computer. Send a note in the chat to our host with your name, address, and topic. And when it's your turn to speak, the host will give you permission to unmute yourself. The chat function is seen only by the host, and no comments are retained in the record. And it looks like we do have 3 people joining us online for public comment. We'll turn to you in just a moment. We'll start first with those of you who are joining us here in the hearing room. And I have on the list Diane Duffy. Diane, would you like to come forward? And you'll have 3 minutes. The topic is housing. And Danielle is here representing the neighborhood Daniels Welchester. Welcome.
Yes, Diane Duffy. Good. And I know you guys. And I just want things that we're seeing. As you will know, our neighborhood is not, we are anything but NIMBYs. When a developer came to us with the proposal for a 200 plus unit affordable housing in our neighborhood, we not only embraced it, we went with them to the city council meetings. If you remember the slow growth amendment that the city was putting in, the city of Lakewood, we helped him beat that and get that in days under the wire. It's a beautiful building. It's a local developer. It has been at 100% occupancy with a waiting list for many years now. It's well managed. It's great. Unfortunately, there's a building right next door. That building is not so great. So the Jefferson Center for Mental Health purchased this building back in 23. It has been vacant ever since. Now, far be it from me to understand why they would buy a $5 million building for their administration when we have such need on our streets, but they have not maintained it. Notable is now down to 88% occupancy and declining. People are moving out because of the trash and the crime. The manager said their day starts with a single mom with 2 kids in their office crying because she can't take her children to school because her car was vandalized over the night and she doesn't have the money to fix it. There she is. So I think as we look at affordable housing and we look at these issues, we also need to take care of what we're putting in. Giving them incentives and putting money into this is one thing, but when they're here, we have to protect them. Now, I understand this year, Jefferson Center for Mental Health must be struggling. Budget cuts, funding cuts, and the increased need. But they chose to buy this building. The vagrants are living in it. There's human excrement, and I brought pictures, but it doesn't tell the tale. I just want you to understand that we have to take care of what we have because the inventory that we have is dwindling.
Time.
So adding more. And I wish I
you.
had something I could tell you as a solution.
Thank you, Diane. You know,
Bigger than
couple
all of us.
thoughts. One, if you would please share any photos you have, if you'd like to,
I did.
with Cassie Pierce, perfect. And then we'll work with our county manager, Joe Kirby, to connect with Jefferson Center for Mental Health. And also Commissioner Zenzinger serves as our liaison to the Jefferson County Mental Health Board. We've got a great working relationship with them. So we'll follow up and share with them directly the concerns that you've shared with us. And I believe we have your contact information, but just to play it safe, would you also share that with Cassie as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, please.
Is the property that you're talking about at 740 Sims?
Yes.
Okay. I'm already have been contacted about that in communication with the Jefferson Center for Mental Health, and they are well aware of it, and they had a meeting about it, and they're working on a plan.
Thank you.
Information in real time. Thank you, Commissioner Zenzinger. And thank you so much, Ms. Duffy, for being here this morning. Is there anyone else in the hearing room before we go to folks who are joining us virtually who'd like to share any comments? All right. With that, let's turn next to those who are joining us online. And I understand that we have Lynn Clemens, Mark Danner, Haley John Nelson, and Christy Bolin. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And it might be a different Mark Danner than our Jeffco Mark Danner, but we'll find, we'll see. I suspect it might be. Ms. Clemens, please go ahead with your comment. If you would share with us your full name and address, and you, as you know, you've got 3 minutes.
Sorry, I'm not in the room today. Lynn Clemens, 6202 Kilmer Loop, Unit 102, Arvada 80403. And I'm speaking today about an upcoming work session topic, which is the additional housing. Very nice presentation put together by staff. But I would like to draw attention to one of the areas that are being spoken about, and it's in the paperwork. That is the water supply and the transportation capacity are listed under other considerations for the affordable housing and additional housing. I'm very concerned because to me, these two issues should not be other considerations. I would like to see these two things, the transportation capacity in the county and the water supply. Water supply, I understand that you're dealing with 50 different water supply companies in the unincorporated county. To me, these things should be elevated. I would like to see the interaction with the water companies and some kind of a study on our transportation capacity to go hand in hand with the additional housing. I think it's very short-sighted to add all of these different units. We have to add 50,000 units to the county when we haven't gone hand in hand with the water capacity and the transportation system especially. I know that through listening to a lot of discussion that transportation is very costly and we are maybe not keeping up with the transportation system needs throughout the county. So I would like to see this, instead of being other considerations, actually be elevated to go hand in hand so that we have answers to the water. Where is the water coming from for all of these additional units? And what about transportation? How are we handling the transportation system? For example, 5950 McIntyre is supposed to be a huge warehouse property that is supposed to add almost 1,000 different trips to McIntyre, which is a minor arterial. The county is allowing an additional full stoplight at 58th. Now we'll have a stoplight at 58th. We'll have a stoplight at 60th. We'll have a stoplight at my street, West 63rd Avenue, another stoplight at 63rd and a half, and a stoplight at 64th. Does this make any sense for transportation? This is an example of how we should look at transportation going hand in hand with development. And I would like to see this being elevated so that we look at transportation system and the water system before and while we look at increasing the additional housing. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ms. Clemens, for your comments this morning. Do we have Mark Danner speaking next?
No,
Mike
I'm sorry.
Rawlick. Mike
Yeah,
Rawlick, got
Mike
it. Sorry,
Rawlick,
just
yes.
saw
I
your
apologize.
just saw your text message. Although we always love hearing from our Mark Danner. Mr. Rawlick, please go ahead. First, share your address, and you've got 3 minutes.
Where are you, Mark? Mike.
Mark, we're starting to hear you a little bit. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I just got unmuted here, so thank you. Mike Rawlick, 18735 West 59th Drive, Golden, Colorado, 80403. First, thank you for allowing us to speak today. I echo Lynn Clemens' comments about HB 1313, and I would hope that Jefferson County looks at what the city of Arvada, Greenwood Village, and I think Aurora are doing right now. They're actually looking at the constitutionality of HB 1313. Local governance governs best in our view. I know that it's not a home rule county, but the home rule cities are suing based on the constitutionality of HB 1313. And I would hope that Jefferson County could be in a position of support, regardless if we need the housing or not. I think that that decision should remain local. It's a lot easier for all of us to be able to speak with our county commissioners and make a case here, as opposed to try to have the state understand the nuances of neighborhoods as opposed to a top-down style mandate. So I would hope you would look at HB 1313. The State Demography Summit last year was showing that population in many counties, including Jefferson, is coming down. Don't know what we're building all the extra units for, frankly. It doesn't mean that the population trends might change one day, but as of right now, Arvada and Jeffco are showing downward trends. And also, obviously, water infrastructure are an issue. When it comes to psilocybin mushrooms, I spoke last week about the understanding about psilocybin being allowed in many different zonings. However, I just want to bring this kind of home. At the 60th and McIntyre, the units that are going to be going up there, the warehouses, they're pretty close to residences, and you could have a psilocybin production facility that uses bacteria. We talked about this last week. I looked a little further into it. It's E. coli bacteria. And yes, it is transmissible to humans. Humans can get sick. They can get sepsis from this. They can get stomach aches. I would ask that you look into this with the public health department. And it's interesting because I was reading an NIH article real quick. It says, due to promising clinical results, pharmaceutical companies are investigating more cost-effective means to produce psilocybin. Growing and harvesting psilocybin mushrooms shows limited economic feasibility due to slow production process and high product variability. Current production of psilocybin, active pharmaceutical ingredient for clinical trials, is achieved through traditional chemical synthesis, but now they're also looking at that it's made possible by recombinant DNA technology. I don't know of any state law that limits the way you're producing psilocybin, but you could have E. coli within 20 or 40 feet off of residential lot line that is also using recombinant DNA technology. I saw another one with fungus. They're using now ampicillin to kind of control the situation. And then there's another thing called 4-hydroxyquoquine. I don't know how to say that, but it should definitely be looked at as far as secure storage. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mr. Rawlick. Next, we have Hallie Nelson. Please go ahead. And let me ask, is Ms. Nelson still with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead, share your address, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Hallie Nelson, and I'm the director of the Jefferson County Food Policy Council, a community-led coalition working to build a more equitable and sustainable food system. I'm giving public comment on behalf of our hundreds of members, including residents with lived experience of food insecurity, food pantries, farmers, local decision makers, nonprofits, policy advocates, and more. Our council is guided by our shared Jeffco food policy platform, and one of its core priorities is protecting and expanding food assistance programs, as these are critical to ensuring our community is fed. Article 2D of our platform states that we support maintaining and increasing funding of all food assistance programs, including the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP, and Medicaid. We are deeply concerned about the cuts to SNAP and Medicaid proposed in the federal budget and strongly urge you to take a public stand against them. Programs like SNAP and Medicaid are essential to keeping people in Jefferson County fed and healthy. In 2023, 10.9% of Jefferson County residents, or 63,400 individuals, were food insecure. If these proposed cuts go through, they will harm thousands of families right here in Jefferson County, particularly seniors and working parents who are already struggling to make ends meet. The proposed cuts also roll back the updates to the Thrifty Food Plan, which is used to calculate the amount of SNAP benefits. This means that families using SNAP will have less food dollars. According to the Urban Institute, in Jefferson County, a modestly priced meal would cost 74% more than the maximum SNAP benefit would be if these cuts are approved. Food pantries across the county are already feeling pressure. Since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, they've seen historic levels of need that have only continued to grow. At the same time, they're facing shrinking donations, fewer volunteers, and less federal support. Food Bank of the Rockies is already struggling to fill their shelves for food pantries. There were already cuts to TFAP, which is the Emergency Food Assistance Program, which supports food banks and food pantries, as well as other programs that support food banks and food pantries. Pantries are not able to keep up with growing demand, and if there are these cuts to SNAP and Medicaid go through, they will struggle even more. We're launching a collaborative fundraising effort to try to support food pantries, but it won't be able to keep up with the huge loss of SNAP and Medicaid funding. We urge you to take this public stance against these proposed federal cuts and to show that Jefferson County stands with its residents. Your leadership matters, and your voice can help protect these programs that allow people to live with dignity and stability. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for your comments. We appreciate them. And just a quick note, and I'll just take a chair's prerogative. I believe we also have another comment coming up on SNAP from Christy Boland, and we have that issue along with Medicaid coming up shortly, given our two resolutions on these issues expressing many of the concerns, Ms. Nelson, that you raised. Typically, we would have those comments during that period of time, but let's go ahead and move forward with Ms. Boland speaking next on the issue of SNAP and as well. And we appreciate you both being here this morning to discuss this issue. Ms. Boland, I'll turn it over to you next. You have 3 minutes, and if you just share your full name and your address, we appreciate it.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Commissioners, for this opportunity to provide public comment. My comments will actually center around Medicaid. My address is 637 Brentwood Street in Lakewood, 80214. And again, my name is Christy Boland, and I am from the Jefferson Center for Mental Health. I am the Community Engagement Manager. And I did want to take one brief moment first to acknowledge the comment that was made by our first community member with the concerns related to our purchased site in her neighborhood and the impacts on it. We really appreciate that feedback and are dedicated to being supportive partners within the community, including at that property. So I look forward to continuing to work with our team to on that issue. So Jefferson Center is the nonprofit safety net community mental health center and substance use treatment provider that serves Jefferson, Clear Creek, and Gilpin counties. Last year, we served more than 27,000 people in our community with a comprehensive array of services. And I'd like to share a little bit more about the work we do and how it would be impacted by the proposed cuts to Medicaid. Medicaid plays a critical role in our state, covering more than 3.1 million people in Colorado, with more than 161,000 of those folks living in Jefferson, Gilpin, and Clear Creek counties. Community mental health centers like Jefferson Center play a vital role in the well-being of individuals and communities. We provide essential services for people of all ages, such as counseling, psychiatric care, medication management, vocational support, withdrawal management, a 24/7 crisis walk-in center, intensive case management, and residential recovery programs. In addition, Jefferson Center operates the only youth crisis stabilization center in the state of Colorado. Our navigation team helps connect our community members to resources and services outside of Jefferson Center, including application assistance for SNAP. We know that food insecurity impacts mental health from both the immediate stress of inadequate nutrition and the long-term effects on brain development and emotional regulation. And we strongly advocate for support of SNAP, though the rest of my comment will focus on the impact of cuts to Medicaid on our community. Making access to mental health care convenient and customer focused is a top priority for us at Jefferson Center. We believe in serving people where they are most comfortable, and currently we're able to provide access to care via telehealth, community kiosks, clinical offices in many community settings, including nursing homes, jails, 45 schools around the community, 35 primary care and pediatric medical offices, and foster homes. Integrating these services into the community creates a safe place to connect and receive care, reduce stigma, and make it easier to get the help that our community members need. Medicaid plays a vital role in us and our ability to provide this comprehensive array of services, providing more than 50% of our total revenue. The proposed funding cuts put these programs and services at risk while also reducing coverage for individuals and limiting access to the care they need. Like the other medical and mental health safety net providers in Jefferson County, Medicaid disenrollments due to the public health unwind and the end of the pandemic have already resulted in an $8 million shortfall for our organization, layoffs, and not filling vacant positions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your comments with us. And then I believe our final speaker virtually joining us is it Corey or Cork, Rec? Speaking on the JCSO Wildland Fire Management Program.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Would you please share your name for us and your address?
My name is Cork Rich. My address is 8856 Blue Mountain Drive, Golden, Colorado. I live in the Coal Creek Canyon Fire Protection District area. I'm speaking in support of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office Wildland Fire Management Program. I'm a founding board member and executive director of the 13-year-old nonprofit organization Blue Mountain Forest Stewardship Initiative. It was instituted to implement the recommendations in our Community Wildfire Protection Plan. I now serve on the Coal Creek Canyon Fire Protection District's CWPP Implementation Committee. Our biggest concern is finding a way to make sure that the residents of the Coal Creek Canyon Fire District are able to safely evacuate in the event of an active wildfire incident. Our CWPP has indicated that many of the county roads have been designated as potentially non-survivable in an active wildfire scenario. We desperately need county assistance to perform the necessary roadside fuel mitigation as outlined in our Community Wildfire Protection Plan. And please vote to provide funding to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office Wildland Fire Management Program. Every single piece of that program is so desperately needed in Jefferson County. And for the last 15 years, I've been working really hard to help the mountain residents do the necessary fire mitigation to become a fire-adapted community. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for taking the time this morning to address the issue of wildfire resiliency in our community. And thank you also from the Board of County Commissioners for all the work you do to help keep our community safe. We appreciate it very much. Let me just do one quick check to see if there's anyone else joining us in the hearing room or online who'd like to address commissioners at this time. All right, that then closes this round of public comment, and we want to thank everyone again for their comments this morning. We appreciate you taking the time to be here. Next, we have the approval of the minutes dated June 10th, 2025. May I have a motion to approve?
I move for the approval of the minutes from June 10th, 2025.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Blumquist, would you please call the vote?
Commissioner Kerr?
Aye.
Commissioner Zenzinger? Commissioner
Aye.
Dahlkemper?
Yes, and that motion passes. Next, we have 5 items on the consent agenda. And before we move to a motion on the consent agenda items, I'd like to call out 2 special resolutions that you heard touched upon during public comment that we have on the agenda today regarding Medicaid and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. We'll read these resolutions into the record today, and I'd like to begin first with Commissioner Zenzinger. Would you please read the resolution regarding Medicaid into the record?
Yes, and I just want to thank the 2 individuals that spoke this morning very specifically about this topic. As a board, we have been discussing this topic for a few weeks now, and it's very gratifying to hear those sentiments echoed by members of the community, particularly the 2 individuals that spoke this morning with such a level of expertise. So regarding Medicaid, the proposed changes to Medicaid, as we have heard this morning, could be harmful to more than 79,000 Jefferson County residents who rely on this program every month. Stripping Medicaid coverage from working families, caregivers, older adults, and people with disabilities would create deeper health disparities and shift preventable costs onto our communities. For every $1 million cut from the federal Medicaid funding, Colorado loses $2.25 million in economic activity and $825,000 in household earnings. So with that as context for the resolution today, I would like to read into the record the resolution. Resolution number CC 25-160. Whereas Medicaid is a federal-state partnership that provides essential health coverage to over 70 million Americans, including children, pregnant individuals, low-income adults, older adults, and individuals with disabilities, and whereas 79,241 residents in Jefferson County, including 32,262 children, rely on Medicaid coverage each month to access timely, affordable, and often life-saving care. And whereas Medicaid plays a critical role in the economic health of Jefferson County, directly supporting healthcare providers, stabilizing our healthcare systems, and reducing uncompensated care at hospitals. And whereas Medicaid supports a broad continuum of behavioral health services, including therapy, medication management, crisis stabilization, and inpatient and outpatient treatment that are vital to preventing and treating mental illness and substance use disorders. And whereas the program has enjoyed bipartisan support going back to its passage into law in 1965, and whereas proposed federal changes to Medicaid would slash funding by up to $715 billion over 10 years, impose ineffective work requirements, restrict eligibility, and increase administrative burdens that would result in mass disenrollments and delayed or foregone care. And whereas the Congressional Budget Office estimates that similar proposals could cause over 8 million Americans to lose Medicaid coverage, disproportionately harming working families, older adults, caregivers, and people with disabilities. And whereas research shows that cuts to Medicaid will increase emergency department use and shift costs to hospitals, local governments, and private payers, which could lead to higher premiums for insured residents and local taxpayers. And whereas delayed care due to administrative barriers and coverage loss leads to more expensive and less effective treatment, and with greater impacts on health outcomes and healthcare system strain. And whereas these changes threaten not only the health and financial security of thousands of residents, but also the sustainability of our local healthcare infrastructure and workforce. And whereas 65% of community healthcare centers operate with negative margins, and further disenrollments will likely result in closures of these key community safety net clinics. And whereas for every $1 million in federal Medicaid funding lost, Colorado loses an estimated $2.25 million in total economic activity and $825,000 in household earnings. And whereas Medicaid is among the most efficient public programs, with over 95% of Colorado's Medicaid budget directly supporting healthcare services, and per enrollee spending in Colorado is among the lowest in the nation. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Jefferson County Board of Commissioners strongly oppose any federal legislation that reduces Medicaid funding, restricts eligibility, or imposes new administrative burdens on enrollees. And be it further resolved that the board urges our congressional delegation to reject any proposals that undermine Medicaid access and instead work to strengthen and expand the program to ensure continued care for vulnerable residents in a stronger local economy.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Zenzinger. And on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, we want our community to know that we're working very closely with state leaders, our congressional delegation on these issues, not only proactively monitoring them, but advocating on behalf of our Jefferson County community. And this is one example of that advocacy work. You can also see the letters that we have written to our congressional delegation on our website at jeffco.us. On our homepage, you can click on a link that will also show you the impacts of the executive orders from the current administration, as well as changes to the budget bill that we're discussing today. Also, thanks to Ms. Nelson, who discussed specifically SNAP. I'll read that resolution into the record now as well. SNAP, again, is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Whereas as the largest federal nutrition program reaching nearly 41 million households, SNAP is a foundational part of the social safety net and has a significant impact on combating hunger and poverty in low-income households. Beyond helping struggling families put food on the table, SNAP stimulates local economies during downturns, feeds people during natural disasters, offers nutritional education, and provides certain participants with employment and training services, a critical pathway to obtaining jobs. Whereas SNAP provides critical nutrition for food for Jefferson County's most vulnerable residents, including children, the elderly, people with disabilities, and low-income adults. And whereas the federal government has proposed changes to SNAP, financing and requirements which will significantly impact Jefferson County residents, as the county relies on SNAP's broad-based categorical eligibility to reduce the administrative burden on SNAP programs and to reduce the challenges for eligible participants who can't meet rigid, paperwork-laden work requirements. And whereas the proposed federal changes to SNAP impose work requirements, eliminating the exemptions that provide states with important flexibility to determine eligibility for people living in areas with insufficient jobs or irregular work hours. And whereas the proposed federal changes are projected to cost Jefferson County more than $28 million in benefits, $28 million in benefits, and may require the county to assume 75% of administrative costs, which are currently covered by the federal government. And whereas the proposed federal changes to SNAP will lengthen enrollment times and may increase the need for emergency food and community support services, and will likely result in increased county staffing needs to accommodate for the redetermination of participants' eligibility status. Whereas the proposed federal changes will have broad negative impacts on our community and result in greater economic and health disparities, especially in communities already experiencing economic barriers to food and nutrition. Whereas protecting and strengthening SNAP is essential for more than 38,000 individuals in Jeffco to provide life-saving food and nutrition to those facing economic hardship. Whereas the federal administration proposes to implement cuts to reduce the national deficit, these proposed changes to SNAP will have the opposite effect and in turn will increase the national deficit due to costs that have not been taken into consideration. Whereas restricting the state's ability to grant work exemptions and ending BBCE, we talked about that just a moment ago, will take away food assistance from participants and limit important state flexibility to tailor SNAP to meet the needs of their individual populations. And whereas these proposed federal changes will result in doubling administrative costs to the county. Now, therefore, be it resolved, Jefferson County residents, Jefferson County requests that Congress and our other federal partners support SNAP payment accuracy without jeopardizing existing administrative resources available to state and local agencies and protect funding for other complementary nutrition programs, such as school and summer meals that provide vital support to low-income children so that they can learn, grow, and thrive. With that, let me ask commissioners, is there any item that you'd like to take off the consent agenda? It was all on consent.
So we'll just leave it all.
Right, right. So no one has any. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you. I'll be happy to leave all 5 of these on the consent agenda. I just wanted to say that I will be an aye vote on the consent agenda, which means I strongly support every single word that both of you just read.
Thanks, Commissioner Kerr. May I have a motion to approve items 7.1 through 7.5?
I move for the approval of consent agenda items 7.1 through 7.5.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Blumquist, would you please call the vote?
Commissioner Kerr,
Aye.
Commissioner Zenzinger,
Aye.
Commissioner Dahlkemper.
Yes, and that motion passes. Next is our regular agenda. We have no items on our regular agenda, nor do we have any items on our hearing consent agenda or the regular hearing portion of our meeting. So now we move to reports, and I'll ask commissioners if you have any reports for this week. And I just want to do a quick time check. Our briefings were scheduled to start just a few minutes ago at 9:45. So for team members who are listening in, just know we're running about 15 to 20 minutes late. We'll try to keep our reports as focused as possible, but I'm sure commissioners have had a very busy week and want to share more about their work in the community. And I'll begin with Commissioner Zenzinger.
Thank you so much. I just want to extend my gratitude to Sheriff Marinelli and her whole team for hosting the Police Academy tour and the Mountain Precinct tour. It was very eye-opening, and it gave me an opportunity to better understand the circumstances in which they are working at those 2 facilities. I also want to extend a thank you to Marika Seitz and the IDEA Commission for hosting this last week. Again, it was a great conversation, and I really appreciate their work. Lastly, I want to thank members of the Golden History Museum for sponsoring a hike over the weekend to South Table Mountain. We were able to hike up to a portion called Carl's Point, which is named after Carl. I'm going to forget his last name. Something along those lines, Carl, but Carl's Point is named for him. And what's most important to know is that he worked with a group of fellow citizens in order to protect and preserve and maintain South Table Mountain so that we could enjoy it in its current form today. So it was a very informative, interesting hike. We also had a geologist who accompanied the participants and told us about the different geological formations along the way, including one of the first fossilized dinosaur bones, a T-Rex tooth, for example, that was found and in the area. So just want to thank all of the individuals, and then afterward had an opportunity to also go to the Golden History Museum, which is free admission for folks who'd like to go, and all of the volunteers that help maintain that wonderful facility, and their director, Kathleen, for all of their work. And I believe I was pretty close. It's iBurger, and I tried to throw in some additional letters there, but it was, I very much encourage members of the public to do it. It's very accessible. And along the way, I was able to observe some of the trail improvements that Open Space, Jeffco Open Space is working on. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Commissioner Zenzinger. Commissioner Kerr.
Thank you. I'll make this as quick as possible. I've already crossed out a couple of things that Commissioner Zenzinger mentioned as well. Did want to say Saturday was an exciting Flag Day here in Jefferson County. It's great to see our new Jefferson County flags flying throughout the county and throughout this month. Also was able to participate in the Evergreen Rodeo Parade with the sheriff. I would imagine that Commissioner Dahlkemper will have more on that. Attended 4 community engagement events at Bergen Park, Idaho Springs, Genesee, and Golden. Yes, I know Idaho Springs isn't quite in Jefferson County, but we have many friends there. I know that these incredible community events were also happening in Evergreen, or Arvada, Littleton, Westminster, and of course in Denver. So it's great to see so many people out and engaged with that. June is Pride Month. We have events and recognitions happening throughout Jeffco and throughout the region all month. I would like to encourage folks, if you are interested in serving on a Jeffco board or commission, we will be having that process. I believe it starts on July 1st is that process happening. Next week, and I'll have more details next Tuesday, but next Wednesday is Bike to Work Day. We will have a fun station here at the Jeffco Government Center. So please plan to stop by for refreshments and frivolity. This Thursday is the county will be celebrating Juneteenth, and I would imagine that our county manager would have more details on that, but we will be closed and celebrating Juneteenth. On this Saturday from 8 to 10 at Aspen Park Park and Ride, there will be a Conifer Road cleanup along 285. The Conifer Chamber has a number of these throughout the summer, and you can go to their website and see when they are and where they are. And I know that Evergreen will be having a big event. That's how it is on my calendar. It says big event on July 3rd. So more details on that coming as well. Yes, boards and commissions are open July 1st through the 29th. And last, I wanted to mention political discourse. Having taught civics in high school and in middle school, we are a country built on civil debate. Doesn't mean we all agree. It means that we participate in civil debate, and it's the only way that our form of government actually works. We had tens of thousands of people across Colorado, millions across the country participating in civil protests, nonviolent civil debate, other things people can do, voting, letters to the editors, public comment, running for office, working on campaigns, volunteering at nonprofits, serve on a board. Did I mention we're accepting applications July 1st through the 29th? Host a neighborhood block party, volunteer for open space, law enforcement, fire department. So many things you can do in your community for civil debate. it's horrendous when when millions of people are participating in civil discourse and civil debate in our country, and one person in Minnesota decides to do their own thing. And our thoughts are certainly with our colleagues, yes, but human beings whose lives ended or were tragically impacted by the actions of one person who decided that his opinions weighed more than the millions of people in our country that do things the right way. With that, thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Kerr. And I was going to save this next comment at the end of my report, but it dovetails with Commissioner Kerr's mention just now that our hearts are very much with Minnesota, which suffered a horrific tragedy involving what some have called the political assassination of Representative Hortman, her husband Michael, who were shot and killed in their homes. But I think what I would especially like to focus on is that their children called on the community, and I think this also applies to the Jefferson County community, Colorado, and across the country, to honor their parents' legacy by, quote, doing something, whether big or small, to make our community better for someone else. And those words have stayed with me after this horrific tragedy. And also in our thoughts are State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, Yvette, who were seriously wounded as well. Circling back, there are a number of things that both commissioners mentioned. I won't repeat them, but I do want to just mention one happy note about the Evergreen Parade. And what was especially fun about the Evergreen Parade, and thanks again to Sheriff Reggie Marinelli for inviting commissioners to join her on our new brush truck, which will be incredibly helpful as we work to protect our community in our foothills community and across Jefferson County. And we want to just stop here to say thanks again to Jefferson County voters for approving 1A, which will have a very positive impact on our wildfire risk reduction efforts. It was so wonderful to see so many friends at the parade, including Jeffco Open Spaces Wildland Fire Team was there, Evergreen Parks and Rec, Evergreen Fire, Conifer Rotary, Evergreen Rotary, I believe, was there as well as the Chamber. So thanks again for a terrific event. Also briefly want to mention the Colorado Fire Commission, on which I served, met last Thursday. It was one of our quarterly meetings, and we made significant strides by approving multiple recommendations to Governor Polis to tackle the soaring cost of homeowners insurance. Our insurance subcommittee, on which several of us serve, has been researching and refining recommendations over the last 6 months, and they include participation in a national pilot program to ensure the input of consistent, relevant data used by insurance companies to rate insurance risk and determine costs. We also are recommending enhanced strategic communication and a wildland urban interface mitigation alignment project to again help stabilize and bring more consistency to insurance ratings and costs. Plenty more to share, but I will save that for our briefings. Thanks again to the Sheriff for the tour of the training facility and Commander Ingerman. And then finally, just a heads up, Belmar Library tomorrow at 6 p.m. is hosting an event that is quite a timely and important conversation. In recent years, we've seen an alarming surge in the number of book bans in public schools and libraries across the nation, especially books that are focused on race issues, LGBTQIA+, and more. I believe those book bans silence marginalized voices, erase histories, especially as we think about celebrating Juneteenth on Thursday, perpetuate harmful stereotypes, and further isolate and exclude members of our community. So Belmar Library will be hosting a powerful conversation on intellectual freedom, and we hope that you can join us tomorrow at 6 p.m. Where they will feature a national voice in the fight against book banning, who will bring a timely and thoughtful insights and conversation. With that, I'll turn it over to the County Manager, Joe Kirby.
Thank you, Commissioner. As Commissioner Kerr referred to, I just wanted to make sure our community members were aware that county offices will be closed on Thursday, June 19th, in observance of Juneteenth. So Thank you, Commissioner, for getting that out there, and you know me too well. I was going to bring it up. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And next we have our County Attorney, Kim Sorrells.
This isn't a legal update, but I'm going to tag on to the Evergreen celebrations. There are two Evergreen restaurateurs, Tiffany and Rand Packer, who currently own Murphy's Mountain Grill, Muddy Buck Cafe, Kiki's Fresh Bowls, and Espresso Evergreen. They are opening up a new restaurant, an upscale Italian steakhouse in what used to be Cafe Prague in downtown Morrison. So as a Morrison resident, I am super excited to see someone taking the home of that beautiful building and adding some good food to what will be next door to the Red Hotel that's being built, that little boutique hotel. So some redevelopment of Morrison going on.
Great. Thanks so much. We appreciate it, County Attorney Sorrells. And that concludes our hearing. We'll resume on the 5th floor for briefings. Let's shoot for 10:10 and we'll get back on track with our timing. Thanks so much to everyone who joined us today. We had a lot of ground to cover and we appreciate you being here. Take care.